The Shemitah year calculation. In today's lesson, we're going to go into the calculation that led up to this year, the year 5775, to be considered a Shemitah year. When did the Jewish people first start calculating Shemitah? So it's brought down in the Sifri that the cycle first began when the Jewish people entered Eretz Yisrael and settled the land. Prior to that time, although Jews lived in Eretz Yisrael, they did not yet observe the Shemitah laws, as the Shemitah laws were dependent on two things. Number one, the conquering of Eretz Yisrael, and number two, the settling of the land. This took approximately 14 years. It took 7 years to conquest the land, and another 7 to settle it. So 14 years after Yeshua entered the Jewish people to Eretz Yisrael, the Jewish people first began keeping Shemitah. They then counted Shemitahs and Yevles for a period of over 16 Jubilee cycles. That is 16 times 50. That's approximately 800 years. 36 years later, meaning in the 836th year, since they started counting the Shemitah, began the exile of the first temple and the destruction, the Churban Bayis Rishon. So the Churban Bayis Rishon happened in the 36th year of the 17th Jubilee, and in the Shemitahs that was the 118th Shemitah, meaning that the Jewish people had counted 117 Shemitahs and 16 Yevles until the destruction of the first temple. During the time of exile, during those 70 years between the destruction of the first temple and the rebuilding of the second temple, the laws of Shemitah were no longer biblically followed and was only rabbinically intact. And during those years, they did not count the Yevles. The laws of Yevel are conditioned on that all the Jewish people live in Eretz Yisrael. So in truth, already in the times of the first temple, when Sancheriv exiled the 10 tribes, Yevel no longer became applicable in Torah. But nonetheless, they continued counting the Yevles until the destruction of the first temple. And the reason is because since the Yevel is the 50th year, if they would not have counted the Yevel, then the calculation of the Shemitahs would have been confused. As if you don't count the Yevel as the 50th year and begin the 50th year as the first year of the new Shemitah cycle, then it ends up that your Shemitah is 1 year early. So because of that, they had still counted the Yevles, even though they didn't observe the year of Yevel. However, during the 70-year exile, they did not count the Yevles. The Rambam, however, holds that during the 70-year exile, they also counted the Yevles. So here we have a famous machlekes between the Rambam and the Gaonim regarding if the Yevles were counted during the times of the exile. If we consider them counted, then the Shemitah year ends up being a different calculation than if we consider them not counted. This same machlekes between the Rambam and the Gaonim is applicable towards after the destruction of the second temple. Everyone agrees that during the times of the second temple, although we didn't observe Yevel, we counted the Yevel for the sake of the Shemitahs. But after the destruction of the second temple, this dispute came back into place. Are the Yevles to be counted? So let's say, for example, when the 50th year came about, the Rambam, who holds that we do count the Yevles even in exile, the 50th year ends up being Yevel, and the 51st year is the first year of Shemitah. Now, according to the Gaonim that say that we do not count the Yevles during exile, it ends up that the 50th year is not counted, and it's the first year of Shemitah. So it ends up that according to the Rambam, there's a different calculation of Shemitah than we have it today. Practically, we rule like the Gaonim that we do not count the Yevles, and therefore, based on that calculation, if you count from the time of the destruction in 3829, this year, 5775, Tafshin Ayin Hey, is the 278th Shemitah cycle according to the Gaonim, in which we do not count the Yevles. However, according to the Rambam, which says we count the Yevles, and therefore there are more years added before we begin recounting Shemitah every 50 years, it ends up that this year is the 4th year of the 272nd year of Shemitah. And therefore, according to the Rambam, this year is not the year of Shemitah. Nevertheless, the Rambam in Mishnah Torah, when he brings this opinion to the Geonim, even he concludes that since this is the tradition that we have, like the Geonim, therefore we may not swerve from it, and that is the halacha that we follow. And it's actually ruled in Shulchanaruchharav in various areas. In the Alter Rebbe, it's ruled in Hilchos Halva. In the Ramah, it's brought in Choshen Mishpat, chapter 67. And in the Mechaber, it's ruled in Yeridea, chapter 331, that the calculation of the Shemitah years follows the opinion of the Geonim that this year is the year of Shemitah.